And so you know what I was thinking about right there.
We have so many, we could do like 12 videos, Laura.
We could do 12 videos where we only tell half a story, but the other person immediately knows what is happening.
And then the listeners are like, what the hell?
I know. Earlier, when we were eating lunch off camera, she said something, and I had food in my mouth, and I pointed at like, and she was like, no, and she knew exactly what I had asked, and it was so perfect. Okay, hey everyone. So welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing something very special. I am doing a Zoom call with my friend Sharon. When I started doing the videos, I did a couple interview videos right off the bat. And I realized how much fun I had just like talking with other people, getting their perspectives on life, talking about the positivity they are putting into the world, the change they're trying to make for themselves and others. Like I mentioned in my first introduction video, I said one of the things I really want to focus on was just body positivity. And as soon as I thought that, the first name that popped into my mind was Sharon Maxwell. So then we grew up together. We went to kindergarten together. We went to high school together. We carpooled with each other junior year. And then also, hey Sharon, when's your birthday?
November 19th.
And my birthday is November 20th. We were born one day apart, and I'm not gonna say who, but so it's always like, I'm older than you. You have to obey me.
Oh my gosh. Well,
and it wasn't me because I'm not the older one. We were little kids. It was fine. I actually like laugh about it a lot now because I'm like, obey your elders.
That was what we were taught growing up. Obey your elders.
Yeah, no. Conservative background, 100%. Obey your elders.
I want to apologize to your inner child for the way that I used our conservative background to manipulate you.
No, it's, you know what though? I think it's great because we have both, as we've moved into like adult life and, you know, created the environment we would like for ourselves in the world. And just recently, Sharon, on her social media, she's really promoting this idea of body positivity. Sharon, why don't you say hi to everybody, tell them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about what we're going to be doing with this video.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Laura. And when you reached out to me, oh my gosh, I was just tickled. I told my best friend right away. I was like, look at the message that Laura, my friend growing up, sent me. I am on a body positive. That whole realm has kind of convoluted a little bit into a way that I don't always identify with. I'm on a body trust journey is what I like to call it. And I like to be positive about my body, and positive about bodies of all sizes and all shapes. And so, yeah, and that honestly started with me because I was diagnosed with an eating disorder over 2 years ago now, and started a journey there. But I think we're going to delve a little bit more into that in a bit. But yeah, I'm out here in San Diego, California, living now, and I've got my adorable little cameo appearance dog Mia right here, and I'm just trying to live a life according to my values out here, and super grateful to be on with you, Laura, and connect in this way.
I am so super grateful you said yes. I was so nervous when I was typing it up. I really was. I sent her like a Google Doc with some ideas we could talk about. I'm trying to be professional about this whole channel thing, like make it seem like I actually know what I'm doing. But anyone who has seen any of my other videos will know I don't know what I'm doing. So we're going to be doing essentially a get ready with me format type call where I am going to be copying Sharon's makeup routine. Sharon, when I texted her, she's like, I don't actually do a lot with makeup. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, I love that there are ways that makeup can be something different and mean something different to each of us. So thanks for watching as we get ready together from a long distance away. Hey, Sharon, what is the first step that you do in your makeup routine?
So I use the Professional Pore Primer from Benefit.
Now, I don't have the Professional Pore Primer. I Lorac Porefection, and I feel that this is actually pretty similar in consistency to that.
I feel sleek and like satiny, you know, like the
Yes, that is exactly the texture. It just feels like a satin mask.
Yeah.
How do you apply your primer with this?
I use my fingers. I don't know the technique, and so I use it whenever I'm going to put foundation on.
Let's talk about some of the questions we had discussed. First of all, you mentioned this a bit, but how did you start on your personal journey?
Like I said, I was diagnosed with an eating disorder, and I did not believe it. I have lived in a fat body, and people hear the word fat, and there's a societal message attached to it, right? Like it's a negative connotation, but fat is a descriptor, just like thin is, just like short is, just like tall, just like brown eyes, blue eyes. So I'm trying to remove the stigma from that. But I've lived in a fat body almost my entire life. And so with that came the pursuit of like dieting and all these different things, which ended up with me having a 21-year-long eating disorder. And it morphed and grew and became worse and worse throughout time. So, and it ended up in a residential treatment center 2 years ago, and almost exactly 2 years ago.
Can I share a story right here real quick for you?
Absolutely.
There is something I remember from when I was 14, and I know that because I was getting ready for my quinceañera. And I remember that my mom and I were going to go dress shopping, and I was desperate to get to a certain size before the quinceañera that fall. And so we would go to Taco Bell every Saturday because we were part of this ministry. I remember that I was just starting to get into that idea of like, if I don't eat, then I won't, I'll be able to lose the weight, which is a very unhealthy mindset, but it's very prevalent with young teenage girls. And so I had not bought lunch that day when we were at Taco Bell. You told your mom, you're like, Laura doesn't have lunch. And you guys talked to me about it. And I was like, oh, I'm trying to get to a certain size. And your mom went and bought me a couple tacos, like hard-shell tacos. And she's like, this is better for you than not eating. And so I still look at that, and I know hardcore that I would have gone down a road there of like starting that, like, I don't know, abuse of my body. But you and your mom stepped in, and you just, in a conversation there at Taco Bell, you told me flat out, like, you don't have to do that to yourself. So I can fully say that you and your mom, for at the very least, like, helped me not to go down that very dangerous path. And you weren't even at like this point of your life where you're like, I'm an advocate for this.
No.
You were just like a regular friend.
Thank you for sharing that. And what's so interesting is at that time, I had such a disordered relationship with food. And I wonder if, honestly, my mom, undiagnosed, again, with our background, not really believing in mental health issues, but my mom, I believe, my mom has an eating disorder herself. But when I was in about second grade, she got really ill and almost died. And so I'm wondering if she was operating out of that, like her own fear of how ill she got.
Aww. Your dog just did the cutest yawn. It was adorable. She was so cute. Okay.
That's so special. My mom is a sweet, sweet soul.
Let's go on to the next makeup step, and then we'll continue talking. Because I think we're both done with our pore primer.
So I use concealer on my blemishes. So I've got a couple things here. And this, but then I do like my concealer later after my foundation.
My concealer is lighter than my skin anyways, because I typically only use concealer to highlight after. I'm really excited for when we get to the foundation step, because I use a full coverage foundation as well. We can feel it on my face because it reminds me that I'm looking like a queen all day.
All right.
Just kidding. By the end of the day, I look like, I don't know. I look like the drawbridge. I don't know why that was the thing.
Drawbridge?
I was trying to think of like a castle. Like rolls within a castle. How do you put on your foundation?
So I put it on my hand, and then I like put it where I'm gonna put it on my face, and then I use my brush, and then I like. This is a Sonia Kashuk foundation brush. It's like more of the more blunted one.
I'm going to be using. I'm also going to be using that like flat edge foundation brush. I am using the Real Techniques 301.
Glitter is my favorite color.
Oh yeah, no, gold glitter. That is my favorite color.
Oh, me too. Look at my makeup bag.
We're the same person.
That's why we're both Scorpios. I just go bloop bloop bloop.
I love those terms. We'll go bloop bloop bloop, and then we'll do.
Don't judge me.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, no judgment on this channel ever. They should know that from watching me, because I am, every single video I have turns into a hot mess at some point or other. Go ahead.
So like initially I told my doctor she was lying. I just needed more self-discipline and he just needed to lose the weight, la la la. And she was like, Sharon, your labs are like, you are so medically compromised. Your heart is in serious trouble, as is your GI tract and all these different things. And I was like, you are so dramatic. But I decided that I would go, but I was teaching at the time, and she told me she wanted me to go to residential treatment. And I said, absolutely not. I need to lose weight, la, la, la. And I'm not leaving my students. And she goes, well, if you drop like this number, la, 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 on my labs, I'm putting you in the hospital. So I like tried to control some really maladaptive behaviors for a little bit and finished out the school year and went to like the lower level of care of treatment where I would go 3 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
In the summer, I ended up going off to California because my treatment center in Phoenix, where I was living at the time, did not have a residential care. And so I went to California, went to treatment, and there I was like, holy shit, I do have an eating disorder. There is this thing, and it's actually called Health at Every Size. And it's a movement that's really like spreading, and it's founded on science and the fact that our society projects this need to pursue thinness, and we honestly have a fat-phobic message out there. If you look at fat characters on shows, they're usually the sidekick, the person who's the comedy relief, they're an idiot, they're portrayed as lazy. Well, I am fat and I'm not lazy. I know a lot of people who are fat who are not lazy, and that's just not true of who they are. And genes and so many different things play a role in our body size, just like our hair color, our eye color. And so my labs now are absolutely beautiful. My behaviors are under control. I am still like, I have an outpatient team now. I stepped all the way through down the different levels of care that you receive in treatment. And I do have some like internal damage that happened from my eating disorder of 21 years. And in middle school, we had a teacher who was pretty awful. And during that time, like purging behaviors began. And so my esophagus is pretty damaged. I have some internal damage that I have, that like a maintenance plan to keep myself okay. But overall, it became like a battle of, okay, I do have a mental health condition. And I had to really break down my own internalized stigma, Laura, like that we were brought up with, or I was, my family especially, and the church. And I think everybody had a different experience with your family background. And I'm not at all saying churches are bad or anything like that. The main thing that I'm trying to say is that like in some churches, and I'm not at all villainizing churches, so anyone hearing this, please know that your faith is valid and I fully support that. But in some churches, mental health is really seen as like a sin, or it's seen as something that is wrong, or the person's fault, or it's a byproduct of sin. And I am here to say and shout it from the mountaintops that could not be more incorrect. Like mental health is something that is so real. And so I came to that like awareness. I came to the awareness that like, oh, I don't actually have to pursue thinness. In fact, if I do that, my heart will eventually give out because of how much I've damaged it throughout the years, and I'll end up dying. And so that's kind of what my journey, my recovery journey, my body positivity / body trust journey began.
I would like to talk about, because you mentioned that you worked down through levels.
Mm-hmm.
How long did that journey take you? Like, how gradual was it? Was it something, because a lot of people, I think, believe that it's something that just clicks one day.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your experience?
Yeah, no. So eating disorder recovery, I like to tell people when they try to ask, like, what does that look like? And first of all, it's not a diet. It's not me losing weight. It's the absolute opposite of that. I am so anti-diet.
Mm-hmm.
But so everyone's journey is going to be different. The average recovery that that in recorded research is 5 to 7 years before someone is like fully recovered. And so I'm definitely still in the beginning of my recovery journey. or getting towards the middle, I would say.
As our dear principal used to say,
Uh,
there's no harm in painting the side of the barn.
oh my gosh. I forgot about that one, Laura. And if you just leave your brush in the closet for a couple months and bring it out, it'll give you perfection on the face.
You heard it here first, folks.
With my eating disorder, which is a restrictive eating disorder, and I have anorexia nervosa purging type. So yes, I'm in a large body and I have anorexia because eating disorders don't discriminate and they don't have body sizes. Any gender, any race, any sex, any size, age. So I got fully nourished finally, and then I stepped out to PHP, which is called partial hospitalization programming, and then you like step down and taper down into like, and I did that in Phoenix for a month, but then I moved to South Carolina and did it in South Carolina for like probably 2 months in partial hospitalization, and then I stepped down to IOP, which is 3 hours a day, up to 5 days a week, dropping all the way down to 3 days a week, and then you graduate. And I did that for probably about 4 months. So my whole process, March was when I began. I graduated. I feel like it was a 9-month process of being in treatment. I don't think I did all the math right when I just said how long I was in different places, but it was a 9-month thing. Then I relapsed and I went back into PHP and PHP to IOP for about 6 months.
Do you want to talk about this, Sharon? I saw this earlier. I love this pillow behind you about home is where the plants are. Do you have like a green thumb? Because I don't. I kill everything I touch.
I have, oh my gosh, I love my plants. So this, you can see it. This is Lorelei. Yes. She's a desert rose, which is my favorite plant. Beautiful. This is Bathilda Bagshot, if you're a Harry Potter fan.
I am.
Oh my God, what house do you belong to?
Hufflepuff, baby!
I'm Hufflepuff too! We're the same person! High five!
Tell me about this one.
This one, though, is so special. This is graded. This is a plant completely growing from a clipping from my great-grandmother's cactus, Christmas cactus. This is a plant that we passed down in our family to anyone who wants. And so it was my great-grandmother Graydon. So this plant's name is Graydon, and this is so special to me. But I love it.
What? So it's from a cactus.
It's a Christmas cactus. So yeah, this one's really special because it's a family heirloom, a live family heirloom.
So awesome. Let's do concealer again.
Yeah.
How do you put on your second round of concealer?
So I put it here, and that's all I do.
She is using her e.l.f. concealer. I am using the Maybelline concealer.
Yeah, mine's the e.l.f. 16-hour camo concealer. And then I just bought their little thingy that they put right with it.
The blender, yeah.
Thingy. I even called it a thingy in the notes.
You did. You said the e.l.f. concealer, little concealer sponge thing.
Yeah, so I probably just did too much. I think that one thing that I've actually learned on this journey that we're even like discussing right now is that I have so much loyalty and compassion for other people, and then I make myself the exception, right? And so now I'm on this journey of like discovery and trying to figure out, okay, what does it look like for me to offer myself that loyalty, for me to set boundaries where I need, for me to offer myself that compassion, and also I need to hold myself accountable, right? But where does that line lie, you know?
The next step is the blush. So show us what you're using for blush, and she's even doing like some like, look at this. So she's using that round-headed blush brush.
It has a lot of give. What did I call it earlier? Pliable?
Flexible. It has a lot of give.
It's floofy. That's the word.
It's floofy, absolutely.
I use an e.l.f. blush palette. Since I don't really take a lot of time on my makeup, like I just like being fast. I also don't spend a lot of money except for my foundation.
How do you gather your blush and how do you apply it?
So I kind of like tap it to get it a little bit like I don't know if this is normal or not. I'm just telling you what I do, folks, okay?
And if it works for you, it works for you.
It works for me. I kind of
Yeah.
like tap it to get it, like, I don't know, activated. Sure. And then I just take a little bloop.
I totally agree that sometimes you do have to like give it a little bit of a tap or even do some rubbing to make sure that it's going to show up on the skin.
And then I smile, I like go on my cheekbones, and sometimes it's a little shimmery, and I go like down, and I don't know if it's okay, but it is okay because it's my face.
Now, what prompted you to get onto social media with your trust journey?
Yeah, so um, I was very ashamed of the fact that I had an eating disorder and I lived in a larger body. When we hear eating disorder in society, and I did most of my life growing up, I thought automatically thin, young, white girl, emaciated, and that was the image I had in my head. And so, me living in a fat body, having an eating disorder, I felt very ashamed of it. And yet, one of my values is authenticity. And also, when I was very, very in the trenches of diet culture, I shared my before and after photos all the time. I shared my weight loss journeys, and then I would gain weight and stay off social media for a while, lose it again, show my pictures. And so I wanted to kind of dismantle some of the damage that I felt I had done too, and help show that actually it's not a healthy way to live to yo-yo, and that we can trust our bodies. We can nourish them and trust them to be where they need to be.
Right.
And so I decided that that was my initial prompting. I think a lot of it was just internalized fat phobia around my body, and being a part of the pursuing the thin ideal for so long. I think it's important to remember that we live in a society that says thin equals healthy and fat equals unhealthy. And that's
Right.
not true. In fact, my body is so much healthier right now than it ever was in a smaller frame. And that's because I eat regularly. I don't engage in extreme restrictive behaviors. I don't purge my food. I don't abuse laxatives. I don't over exercise. And I'm learning how to move my body and be okay with it, so that I do have stronger cardiovascular strength, and so that I can enjoy embodying myself. But there's a lot of fat phobia that can even be met in medical facilities and with our doctors and things like that. And thin doesn't mean healthy.
Right.
And fat doesn't mean unhealthy. And I think that's just important to remember. Each and every one of us were to eat the exact same thing every single day and move the exact same amount, we would still have body diversity. And that's just a fact. And so it's important to realize that healthy does not mean thin.
1 second while I take a sip of the Diet Coke. Hardcore quarantine has revitalized my ongoing addiction with Diet Coke, because one of my New Year's resolutions was to give up Diet Coke and to just like not completely give up, because I don't like completely giving up things. I'm no quitter. But I kind of did this thing with myself where I would, if I didn't have it during the week, I would let myself have a giant Diet Coke on Friday mornings, like on my drive to work. Like that was my special treat for myself. And then now since quarantine, I am back up to like 3 cans a day.
So first of all, Diet Coke, you can have your Coke and enjoy it too. But for real though, they say though is that like we live in this society that's like restrict, 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 don't have this, don't have that, this is bad, this makes me good. Food has no moral value. You are not a good person or a bad person because you've consumed a certain type of food. A, okay, soapbox. B, you're allowed to have your Diet Coke, girl. But I've learned through my recovery journey that when I restrict something, right, and I tell myself, no, I can't have this, this is bad, la 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 la, I'm on this side of the pendulum swings far over here, because the moment that I put that guard down, or the moment that I'm like, oh, my relative bought some Diet Coke in the house, now I'm going to have all of it. The pendulum swings over here, and then we go into this mindset of, we've been in the scarcity mindset of, no, I can't have, I won't have, and then now I'm going to have all of it. But like, there's balance, right? So like, I'm all about adding in. So like, I have Diet Coke. I enjoy Diet Coke, and I make sure I drink water.
you say when you're in school, are you teaching or are you taking classes? What's going on with school?
I am in school to become a licensed clinical social worker, and I actually want to go back into the field of work with people with eating disorders, which is kind of why I'm building my own social media platform right here, right now. And I'm going to give you a little insider piece. Before this video airs, I will have launched it, but I have now a website that has a blog that also has a spot to contact me for speaking engagements, which I've done some with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health, and instead for a NEDA, the National Eating Disorder Association, for a walk. And I also make digital art. And so my whole website is wrapped around this whole body trust movement and this dismantling diet culture and fat phobia.
That is so amazing. I'm so filled with joy for you right now, like what you have undertaken and what you have accomplished. And then I'm also filled with so much pride. Like I know this person who is undertaking something that was very difficult for you, and you are coming out successful, and you are now being acknowledged for your successes.
I just want to give hope. Hold hope for people, because there were lots of times where I felt super hopeless, right?
Yeah. We're going to go into the eyeshadow next.
Yeah.
What are you using for your eye today?
So I have this little mini naked palette from Urban Decay. It's the basics. And this is my little lovely friend.
Tell me what you are using first. Which color are you using first?
I'm going to use Venus today. I want some like shimmery shim.
I think I have one of those in my, okay, so guys, I'm trying to mix and match with her because I don't have that exact Naked palette, but here in front of me I have my palette, and in the Naked Heat palette there's this wonderful like shimmery, it almost has a bit of a pinkish tone to it. Ooh. But it's called Ounce. What do you do first?
You know, I don't really have a method to my madness. I just put it on my eyelid, the bottom portion, and I kind of like get it in there nice and pretty.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like that. Mm-hmm. See, it gives me a little shimmer shine.
I love this. She just released the mane.
I released the mane, the curly girl. Okay, so then I also do this little black, the black for my soft liner. So I'm going to go ahead and start that.
So you are using a black with... Girl, that looks amazing. That line.
Yeah. Take your time. This seriously, I told you my makeup is so not involved. And so I'm loving watching you, and I've learned a couple things about like the tapping and like,
yeah,
great. It's great. She's smiling.
Aww.
I guess I'll tell you while you're doing that a little bit about what I'm hoping to accomplish with my work. Yeah?
Yes, please do.
So, and I did say this earlier, but I just want first and foremost just to hold a space that is free of judgment and that is accepting of all people, however they come, and hold hope for people. I feel like when things are super dark, it's often really hard to see that light, right? And just knowing that someone else is holding on to that hope, even when we can't see it ourselves, I feel like is really powerful. But with that though, I want to really raise awareness of eating disorders and to break that societal mold and image. 1 in 4 people who diet end up having an eating disorder. 1 in 4. And eating disorders are the deadliest. Well, they go back and forth with the opioid crisis, but eating disorders are between 1 and 2 of the deadliest mental illnesses. And so every 62 seconds, someone dies from an eating disorder in all body sizes, in all sexes, races, ages. So I just think that, especially with the stigma that I was raised with around therapists, around psych meds, around having to take a medicine for my mental health, all of those things, I want to just be a part of ending the stigma around, and helping people see that, hey, you can have your faith and you can also have a therapist who helps you process trauma and helps you process things that are hard. And and then I really want to build my platform. Eventually I'll be a licensed clinical social worker, and I'll continue using the platform that that I'm building now, to propel myself, more speaking.
I think it is important, the message that you have to share. It needs to be a bigger movement. It can't just be you. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think so then it can't just be you like, look at me, Sharon, I'm going to take on this entire industry. Like, I'm going to take on Hollywood and magazines and every single thing that gets put out into the public consumption. And so I think that when you receive more opportunities for sharing your message, you're going to create other people who can be advocates as well and can be voices in that body trust movement.
And without awareness, we can do nothing, you know?
Right.
And so I was not aware.
Dramatic, and I'm like, take it up there.
Look at her stretch her back little legs.
I know, because I'm already ready to go with my brows. Sharon and I realized we use the exact same brow product, Gimme Brow. What shade do you use, Sharon?
The number's 3.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry guys, cameo.
But she's so cute and happy. Look at the way her little paw is just like flung across you. She's like, this is my human here.
She's like, this is my human.
Do you curl your lashes before you do mascara, or do you just do the flat mascara?
I just do straight up mascara.
Okay. Oh, Sharon, tell them what mascara you're using there. Sorry.
Yeah, so I use, this is my new one, and I like changing my mascara up and trying different things, but I might keep getting this one. It's Soap and Glory. I found it at Target, and it's pretty inexpensive. I think it was like $8, maybe 9.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's thick and fast, super volume mascara super volume. They like saying it in 2 different forms.
I kind of wanted to bring up something, and I did ask Sharon about this before I decided to bring it up. I sent it to her in an email. I said, I kind of want to talk about this. If you don't want to, we don't have to. And she said, no, let's talk about it. There is one memory that sticks out in my mind very clearly. We had this one teacher that he had a bunch of like stuffed animals on his walls from like hunting.
First of all, can we just say how creepy that is for a classroom?
In the science classroom at that, and he had the animals on his wall. And then this one day, I can't even remember what prompted it really, but then one day in class time, in front of the whole class, he pointed at this pig's head he had on the wall, and he said, look, Sharon, that's you. At the time, I was very upset for Sharon. But the thing was, I felt awful because there is this part of me that was like, at least it's not me. And I never did anything to step up to try to help her in that moment, because I didn't want attention on myself. But then also, like, in hindsight, I don't even think I ever even asked you, like, are you okay? And I didn't do my due diligence as a friend. I am very much apologizing for that, because I didn't actually take the time to step up for you, or even afterwards to check on you. And you mentioned earlier that was a bit of a catalyst, teachers treating you. I always think of it as he was a bully that day. He was an authority. He was using that.
Well, thank you for even bringing this up, Laura. And honestly, I've actually had several classmates come out to me and approach this conversation. It was actually something that he did daily during attendance. And I don't know if that, but it was he took attendance, and I had to say, here, sir, twice, once for the pig and once for me. And I would say, first and foremost, to parents listening, listen to your children when they come home. Listen to their stories and realize there's more than one truth to every story. You know, there are multiple perspectives to stories, and listen to your children, listen to your children's friends. I ended up telling my parents, and that actually, about this situation, because I came home and I was very, very distraught halfway through the year, and my whole personality had changed. And honestly, what had happened was I began engaging much more in my eating disorder. That's when my purging began, because his class was right before lunch. And so I would go in there, have to be in his class, say, here, sir, for myself and for the pig, go to lunch, and then right after lunch, I would then purge to reduce the anxiety. My parents went to the principal. The principal said he would deal with it. And the teacher made fun of me the next day in class for going to my mom and dad, and continued his abusive behaviors. And so then I became, again, lessened in my stature and decided not to say anything and just took it.
That moment has guided my actions as a teacher so much, because I realized just how much influence, it showed how much influence my comments have on these young people.
I was a teacher for 6 years, and that fueled my teaching as well. And the way that I swore I would never treat my students, and that I would show them love and complete acceptance and belonging. And I think that what's so important here is just to learn that they're not just people, these little ones aren't just kids. They are human beings. And so are the older people around us. Every single person has a soul right there that we are impacting. We're either building them up or crushing them with our words. I have learned to be more compassionate because of this situation that I encountered. And now I'm learning that I'm worthy of offering myself compassion as well. So I would say that while that was a very degrading time in my life and humiliating, I have grown as a person now through it. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but I think that it's important that children also know that their voice is important. So as a kid, it's hard for us to stand up, right? So thank you for apologizing. And I look back at your inner child with nothing but compassion, because we had no choice, you know?
Specifically, what would you say? Because I know that there are many that they have had experiences where they did not stand up for someone, and now as adults, they still feel very guilty about it, like myself. What would you say from your perspective? What would you say to them to help them understand your side of it better?
Great question. I think that I would say the people sitting in my chair over here looking at my classmates, I never held them accountable for that. That was entirely the teacher's behavior and the teacher's culture that they held. Mm-hmm. And never in my wildest dreams until the first classmate that reached out to me, she sent me a letter and she apologized. And I was like, oh my gosh, but that wasn't you, you know? And they apologized for not standing up, and they saw the injustice. And so thank you. And even just reaching out now as an adult and saying, hey, I saw you. I didn't know what to do as a kid, but now as an adult, I see you and I want you to know that I see you. Even that right there has been healing for me. I don't think that teacher will ever reach out to me and ever own their actions. And I don't need that, you know? However, it has been so incredibly healing to have people like you and several other of our classmates who were in that same room reach out and say, hey, I just want to apologize, even though it wasn't their behavior, you know? But that to me has been like, okay, I was seen, you know, I wasn't less than, I am worthy.
I also want to talk about how Sharon at one point hardcore defended me. And I don't even know if you totally remember this. But we were at camp. There were like cheerleader tryouts coming up. But we were trying to like learn the jumps because they had different jumps you had to do.
The herky.
I can't remember.
I remember them.
You really do? I don't remember the names.
I can still do them.
What? You can?
Uh-huh.
I couldn't even do them then. One of them was like you jumped and your legs went like whoop.
One went out, this one went back. That's the herky.
Okay. But so we were practicing jumps, and there are these two girls a grade above us, and they were asking like, oh, you're really good. Can you do it again? And in hindsight, I know that I was not good at all. And you kind of stepped in, like you didn't like be mean to them, but you were like, I think that's enough. Laura, let's go over here. And you like, I didn't recognize that's what you were doing at the time. But looking back, you pulled me out of a situation where I was just completely oblivious about the fact that I was being bullied. And there are so many little things like that those little memories that we shared over the years where I look back and I say, that was a moment where Sharon was a true friend to me. There were times when we were at each other's throats. And, but even still, I look back and all I think of are those wonderful moments where Sharon stepped in and created a very strong friendship for me to be able to step in and say, like you said earlier, I see you, I want to help you. So while we're doing lip gloss, I'm going to give Sharon a chance to share final thoughts on the video. What are you using for lip gloss?
This has a little bit of shimmer in it also, but it's a Bare Minerals Marvelous Moxie.
This is a free gift that I got with a package from Mally. It's called Gold Digger. So
Right.
I'm going to start putting on the lips. Sharon, what are some final thoughts you want to leave our viewers with?
To each and every one of you, you matter. You're a valued individual. We need people like you on this earth and the talents you have. And your voice is one that deserves to be heard. If you need help, reach out for it, and you're worthy of receiving it. If you listening think you might be struggling with an eating disorder, or you think someone else you know might be struggling with an eating disorder, first of all, you or that person are so worthy of help, and there is help and there is hope. NEDA, N-E-D-A, the National Eating Disorder Association, is the largest nonprofit pushing for eating disorder research, and puts a ton of awareness and information out. And they have an online assessment screening tool so that you can see if you might actually have an eating disorder. And you can go on their website, nationaleatingdisorders.org, to find out. Also, if you're in crisis in a moment with an eating disorder behavior or a string of behaviors, or you just need some insight there, you can also text NEDA, N-E-D-A, to 741-741.
Do these organizations take donations?
Yes, so NEDA, National Eating Disorder Association, does take donations, and you can do that easily on their website, nationaleatingdisorders.org. And also, they have walks all around the U.S. Right now, they've been doing them virtually, and they've been doing like little dance parties and stuff. And they're not a run, or they're people who are in recovery still, so it's less than a mile, and you go on a mindful walk, and there's like an event where you raise awareness. And so those are available in almost all the states, if not all the states. So you can always look on their website for that as well, to go to an event or sponsor an event if you're a company or whatever it may be. But those are a couple different ways. They have lots of information for families of people and friends on how to support, and they also have a way you can donate. Yes.
Wonderful.
You're worthy of help. Any mental health condition, eating disorders, you can always reach out to me also at heysharonmaxwell.com, or my Instagram, and Laura said, which is also heysharonmaxwell. I am overwhelmed with joy for you and all of the wonderful things you have going in your world, your teaching, your writing, this, and you are a blessing to my world all the way since 1991.
Oh, were you? I was born in 91.
Wait, but I'm older than you are by a day.
Respect. Thank you to anyone who watched this video. Girl, that looks so good.
How do we say it? Hufflepuff, Curly Girls, Scorpio Sisters.
Carpool buddies. Because we carpool together for a whole year. Thank you so much, Sharon, for coming on my channel, sharing about your body trust journey and your hopes and goals for your future and others' futures as well. This has been so much fun. We logged on at 9:30-ish, and it is now 2:40. So we have been on a call with each other for 5 hours. And now I'm just like, I'm beat for the day. Because we've been saying,
I put you through the ringer.
And so I think it's fantastic that we got to do this, Sharon. I'm so glad that you were my first Zoom call interview, because you have just been so patient with me and my scatterbrain.
Honestly, Laura, I feel like we just stepped back with our more mature selves into our like inner child friendship, and I think it was wonderful.
Thank you all so much for logging in and watching, and thank you so much, Miss Sharon Maxwell. I'm going to be putting her links for her blog, for NEDA, I'm going to be putting the numbers for the text down in the description. Please check them out. So, bye.
Bye.